You are listening to Quarters and Barra. I am Glenn Quartermain, Senior Sports Reporter with the West Australian. With me is Adrian Barrich of Channel 7 Perth Football Club and, of course, West Coast Eagles fame. We are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Barra, incredible weekend of football, capped off with a magnificent day yesterday in terms of money raised for a horrible disease, and a really hard weekend for tipsters. And I think I struggled through with four in the end. But
I've only got three. There's a couple of people I was looking on here on our tipster thing. There's a couple of people who got one, and Paul Hazelby got one, and a couple of Ryan Daniels, two.
Yeah, it was tough going into Sunday. A lot of people had zero going into Sunday.
Yeah, there were a lot of upsets on Saturday, wasn't there? Sharad Wellingham, three.
Anyone get zero?
No zeros.
Okay, so no nude runs around the pool table.
But Libby Meddams.
She leading?
6 out of 8.
Oh, well done, Libby.
Libby, mate. Good leader, Lady Libby. 79 she's on. Mm-hmm. What are you on? You're on about 75, aren't
75, mate.
I'm on 70. I've dropped 8 places, so I'm horrified. But yesterday it was so good, wasn't it? Midday, I raced home. I went to the gym, raced home to be there for the midday
to watch
start.
the big free slide.
'Cause I heard Nick Nat was up first, and I knew he was going Bob Marley, and then he pulled the stunt of
Why
taking.
didn't he dress up as Harley Reid?
Well, because it had to be rock stars.
Okay.
I suppose Harley Reid is a rock star.
He is a rock star.
Everyone was supposed to be a rock star. And so he started with Bob Marley and Buffalo Soldier.
Yeah, that'll do. How good was Pat Rafter?
But then did you see what he did then? That he rolled into Cool Runnings. So when he took his other gear off, underneath he had the outfit from Cool Runnings on. And he even had the egg. You know the bloke. Have you seen the movie?
I have, but it's been a long time ago. You'll have to remind me.
The guy's got his lucky egg.
Oh, right.
Lucky egg? Yeah, anyone heard about lucky egg.
So he had the lucky egg.
Michelle, you haven't heard about the lucky egg. You have heard about the lucky egg. I love that movie. And he kisses the lucky egg. Mate, Nick, apart from Pat Rafter.
Oh, Pat Rafter was brilliant.
I reckon he...
Geez, he looked like Brian Johnson.
How was that hair?
Yeah.
Who came down as pink?
Erin Phillips.
Erin Phillips,
Yeah.
mate. She was good too.
She looks like pink too.
She looked a lot like pink, but...
well done to everyone involved. Obviously, clearly, Neil Danaher, what an absolute champion, human being. And
isn't he? You know what? I was thinking he should be Australian of the Year. Has he been Australian of the Year?
I hope. We have this argument every year. He certainly should be.
Yeah.
And anyone who hasn't bought a beanie yet, if you can go out and buy one.
Yeah, they've got this gold thing on it as well. I got one, the number 10. But he has got an OAM or an... No, what's the main one? Anyway, he's got that one. Mm-hmm. So the King's Birthday Honours. He's already got Australia. That. But I think Australian of the Year, just the way that he can bat up physically is just phenomenal. It's inspirational to anyone who's unwell. And you've had a friend and lost a friend that I knew as well.
My bestie, yeah.
My friend Asunta, she runs racing for Mindy. Daniel Ricciardo's involved because his family's part of it. She lost 6 of her family because there's a genetic version, and so she's doing a lot of raising money to research how to find the gene that links them up. You know what she had to do? I mean, this is quite remarkable. So all of them have to be tested. And so can you imagine waiting for the results to see whether, because it's in your family, and she got the all clear, which was just, but her sister didn't. You know what I mean? So she lost, can you believe it? And my friend Damien Matthews, former president, Perth Football Club, wonderful, wonderful guy, just written a book recently, while he's unwell. It is the worst possible, it's the worst club to be part of, put it that way.
Yeah.
And let's hope that, I reckon they're getting close to a cure. It seems like there's a lot of great work being done, and it's because of blokes like Neil Danaher. Yeah, he's raised 20 mil from and 90 overall or something?
Yeah, it's an incredible amount.
Wow.
So getting closer and closer, and, I'm not sure if there will be a cure, but there may be some. Right now, there's only one drug, and it's a 50-50 thing. If it works, it works. It obviously can't cure you, but can alleviate the symptoms. And some people it works for. Neil Danaher, it's obviously worked for the drug. My mate Brent, it didn't didn't have any impact on him. So he was it was really
There was a rugby league
sad period
last week as well. I don't know. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Mate,
Yep.
Absolutely.
So the day itself, so well done. The game itself probably didn't live up to its billing, Barra, in terms of the. We were hoping it would be a bit closer, but gee, there were a couple of sub-layers to it. Christian Petracca, the news today, surgery on 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and he's got lacerations to the spleen. This to a bloke who, remember, a couple of years ago played with a broken leg. Well, he was out there in the second quarter with these injuries yesterday. Bravely battled on, subbed, I think, just early into the second half. But, I mean...
there's a couple of things there. One is if you've played footy, you could tell how sore he was, and he had his arm, his left arm basically wasn't working, and I can't believe he went back out there with 4 broken ribs. Have you ever had a broken rib?
I haven't. I've had a bruised rib, and that was bad enough.
I know how bad. I've had a broken rib. It's like you think you must have broken 10 ribs.
Yeah, you can't
breathe so
or
bad.
Eat or laugh.
You can't urinate. You can't lie in bed. It's like the worst possible thing. Lacerated spleen and a punctured lung. So you've got to ask the question. He's going to miss several weeks now.
Yeah,
Yep. So Melbourne in a lot of pain going forward.
Absolutely. You know what? I thought they had a crack early. Obviously, the problem yesterday was execution. They just couldn't execute.
They had more shots at goal.
Yeah.
They had 21 against 19.
So they're getting something right, but that forward line, a bit of a mess. I mean, inside 50 was a bit of a mess, and you've got to hand it to Collingwood. They're missing so many players, yet their system just works. They get teams on the spread and on the speed, with their speed.
How
all
energetic
the time.
were they? How alive? How up were they? And
led by Darcy Moore, runs out in the ground with a smile on his face as always.
Yeah, and Fly coaching from the bench. When Sidey took that big mark, they're all laughing on the bench, high fiving. That's the sort of stuff I love seeing. That's the sort of stuff as a dad I go, geez, I wish my son was at Collingwood. And could be experiencing that.
I don't wish my son was at Collingwood.
Because you know what? The game now is about gut running. It's you run your guts out and then it ends. That's the game now, right? So you got to have enjoyment there because there's so much pain during the match. Have you ever done gut running?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably maybe even your marathons you might have gut runned a little bit.
Of course you do because you can't run anymore and you've got to find a way to.
But just to explain to our listeners, what gut running is when you've done a couple of efforts and then you've got to go again and you get that sore gut pain in the pit of your stomach and you go, I can't do this. And you just got to run through the pain. And sometimes when you get near the ball, you feel better because that you get that sort of natural adrenaline, but it's still shit ass. It's still horrible. And that's what he was doing. And, it's phenomenal what they can do. And let's just finish on Petracca. Should he have gone back out there?
It's his call. I mean, it's not like a concussion rule. He's obviously convinced the medicos. No, I'm okay. He's probably had some pain relief. But he probably, no, in hindsight, no. But, I mean, it's a really...
Well, let me ask you this.
It's not a head injury, but it's still obviously very, very dangerous, particularly with a punctured lung. Well, you remember Robert Di Domenico in the 89 grand final, played 2 and a bit quarters with one.
And then went straight to hospital.
Had to have ice shoved down his throat, went straight to hospital, yeah.
But let me ask you this. If you're a GP, have you know any GPs? So they do a lot of study, right, to get to be a GP.
Yes, you do.
And to be a sports doctor, you probably chuck on a couple of extra years. Would they have known that he had broken ribs?
Yeah, I think so. Players, many.
So hang on, where's the Hippocratic Oath or whatever it is?
Well, a lot of players have played with broken ribs. Nigel Lappin.
Yeah, but are you allowed to, as a doctor, let someone go back out there?
I think that's the player's call with broken ribs. Some players just get away with it. Look, Nigel Lappin played well in a grand final for Brisbane with broken ribs.
Old school. I'm talking about modern world, right? Mm-hmm. Where's the duty of care? Send a bloke out with, what do you have, 4 broken ribs?
3.
Four broken ribs, lacerated spleen, and a punctured lung. We're not going to war, mate.
Yeah,
we're not at friggin' Gallipoli.
It's probably not much. You wouldn't know about the spleen at that point. The punctured lung, you'd have some idea if he's got breathing difficulties, but perhaps the breathing difficulties hadn't begun yet. But certainly with the ribs, he would have known what's going on. So I don't think you can really blame the doctor. I mean,
you're comfortable with them going back out there?
Having a crack, but I mean, he wasn't out there for long. He's out there for a quarter. So they tapped him. He tapped out. Well, they tapped him out early in the third. So I think that's fair enough. Right, I don't think there's any questions to answer. No.
Let me ask you about the forward line then.
Yep.
So what they did, obviously, Neil Bullen.
Yeah, that was good effort. That's something that came off for Melbourne. So I think he did a good job on Nick Dacos.
Let me just finish that though.
Yeah.
But so he towelled, obviously, Nick Dacos and kept him. I think kept him under 20 possessions, which is quite remarkable. Can you imagine how the bookies must have been riding it? And our man, because everyone in their multis has Dacos for 20 possessions plus.
What do you end up with, 15?
It's remarkable how he ended up with 16. Not saying that was orchestrated, I think, but the thing that happened, mate. So you would understand this. So he started in the forward line and then pushed into the midfield to tag Dacos, right? So they played with 5 forwards for the rest of the day. It's a lot of pressure on a forward line that it's not that great, is it?
No.
You know what I mean?
So Van Rooyen gave them something. Max Gawn tried his heart out all day, and particularly when he was floating forward. I think Van Rooyen was okay. But yeah, they've got some issues there. Yeah, it does
what I'm
rob
saying,
them.
Did that actually work? I mean, I know Dacos didn't have a great day.
Well, it did.
But they got beaten by...
Well, it did, but...
No, they didn't. They got beaten by 38 points.
Neil Bullen's he's a very crafty player too, so you probably want him in that forward line, to be honest. So,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's
robbing
exactly.
Peter to play Paul a
and
bit, yeah.
Poor old Cozzy had to carry the can and he got towed up a few times. They hit the post a number of times. The other question I wanted to ask you was about Braden Maynard. Now, there's been a lot of talk today. Should the Melbourne players have shook his hand at the end of the game?
Yeah.
Did they do enough to put physical pressure on him after what happened last year's grand final?
No.
In the lead up to last year's grand final? Do they think about their mate Brayshaw, whose career was ended? Do they blame Brayshaw?
Yes.
I saw the coach, the Collingwood...
Brayshaw, you mean Maynard?
Yeah, do they blame Braden Maynard? I saw the coach Fly say that he's been through a lot, Braden, and I think he's probably pretty friendly with Angus now, but then there was the Demons fans booing him, so then the Collingwood fans cheered him, which a lot of people didn't like Collingwood fans cheering him, even though they were just cheering up to balance it up.
They've given it to Stephen May as well, the Collingwood fans.
Why was that?
I don't know why they're giving it to Stephen May. I'll have to go back there. But, the answer to all of those is, let's just cut to the chase. Did Braden Maynard end Angus Brayshaw's career? Yes. Should they have been roughed him up during the game? Yes. Should they have given him a shake of the hand after the game? Absolutely yes. I think you do still do that. You show it's good. It's a good example for kids out there watching the game too, that at the end of the game of footy you're still big enough to say, okay, well, the game's over, well played, I'll shake your hand. But yeah,
so let me just go through that message there.
Yep.
So it's good for kids to say some bloke ends your mate's career, but you still shake his hand.
Yep.
What message is that?
That's just humanity, Barra.
Humanity?
Yeah, it's a message of humanity.
I'm not sure that's the message I'd be giving my son. But anyway.
So what do you want him to do? Go and shove him?
Just ignore him. Just ignore him. Mate, if it was me, if you're saying, what you're saying's right, that he did end Brayshaw's career, and there's a question mark.
Should never have played in the grand final.
He had a lot of concussions, Angus, and not all of them attributed to.
But that ended it.
Yeah. So if you thought that, there's no way you'd be shaking his hand. I'd give you the tip, but maybe you're right. So that was interesting. And Lobb, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was, why didn't Melbourne take Lobb in the Jackson trade?
It's a very good call. He would have been very handy because he is a good contested mark. And, I guess we'll speak a bit about that later in the week because, of course, the Dogs are playing Fremantle at the weekend and Lobb's being booed by his own fans and it's incredible.
So he'll be the first player to be booed by both sets of fans.
Yeah.
Marvel Stadium.
Which is incredible feat.
After the Lobster Tears beers, or what was that?
Yeah, Lobster beers or whatever it was.
What was it called? I think it was Lobster Tears.
Yeah,
the beer that the Dockers fans invented, and then he had the last laugh.
By the way, well done to our game tippers. The weekly winner, Gals T21, 8 correct. That's a great effort this week. And over our leader is Fanaron, if I got that right. 80 total. I just struggled them before for a 75 and you got 3 for 70. So it was a tough weekend. Now.
Someone got 8.
That's a ridiculous.
Go West 21.
So the West Coast North Melbourne game, let's just talk about that for a moment. Well done to North Melbourne for their first win of the season. Well done to them. They get to sing the song and they sang it with gusto as well. You can't win a game of football, Barra, if you've kicked 2 goals to three-quarter time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't expect to. As good a comeback as it was in the last quarter, you can't expect to win. But was it a free kick or was it not a free kick? I'm talking of Elliot Yeo here in the last quarter.
Well, according to the AFL, it was a free kick. Mm-hmm. Correct call. They say he dragged it underneath him, and as soon as you do that, you have to try to knock it out. And he tried to stand up and got tackled. I heard Elliot on the radio this morning on 96 FM with Clairsy, Clairsy and Lisa, big Dockers man, and he was being very honest. He said, "Look, I thought I got Wardlaw holding the ball first of all."
Was it a high tackle? That could have even been a high.
I thought it was a bit high as well. And then he said that, and he said, "And I didn't drag it under me. I was just trying to get up." So, and it was red hot, and I don't think that's what real footy people want. To be pinged like that. You're a real footy person. Did you think it was fine?
Okay, in principle, I would rather see it be called play on because I don't think we want to, discourage the ball winners from the game. However, having said that, the umpire's got no choice, mate. I think he did drag it in, and I think it was a free kick against, unfortunately. But maybe it's something we have to look at because you don't want players discouraged from hunting the football. But I think right now we are. You
don't want a game for sweaters, do you?
I spoke to Lee Spirit the weekend, who was at the game, and he was saying there was a point, I think it was McGovern and Stevenson at one point, where they're running towards each other and the footy was in dispute, and they both sort of stopped and propped. Because
you go. No, you go.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to, have a head collision and force a suspension, risk a suspension. So, or grab the footy and you're pinged and it's holding the ball. So I think even that shows the players are confused at the moment. And if the players are confused, you can bet the fans are confused. So we do need to do some tweaking here.
You definitely don't want a game for sweaters, blokes who just sweat on guys.
No,
you want a game for blokes who go after the ball. You want to encourage that, don't you? Mind you, tagging's really come into it, hasn't it?
Well, in recent weeks, so we saw Neil Bull and Dacos. Windhager did a great job on Tuke Miller. He's claimed some scalps this year. Shincotta against Merritt, that was key to that game. And, of course, Jared Berry versus Bontempelli at the weekend. Great win to Brisbane, by the way. Bontempelli, he is a genius. He gets tagged out of that game. I think he had 2 clearances for the game, yet still goes forward and kicks his 3.
Yeah.
See, he's a genius.
Did he get tagged this week if the Dockers send someone to him?
Not sure if they will. I mean, there'd be a contingency. I mean, Hayden Young seems really suitable to that role. He's a bigger body. You can't just let him. I mean, obviously there are mechanisms they'll put in place. At stoppage. So it may not be a clear tag, but they'll certainly give him plenty of attention. They have to.
Who's your tagger from Hawthorn?
Oh, Finn McGuinness.
So who's the best here? Because
the best of them at the moment, I think Windhager's doing a pretty good job. We saw the job he did on Harley Reid the week before.
There's also James Jordan.
Cotter's record this year is the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's claimed some scalps too. So James Jordan's done a great job. We saw when Melbourne played Freo. When Sydney played Freo, we saw the job he did on Jordan Clark.
Yep, and there's another one too. Jed McAtee.
So are they
Port
back?
Adelaide.
Is the tagger back?
Well, so we got Chincotta, Jordan, Berry, McAtee, Windhager, McGuinness, and Dom Sheed.
Yeah, Dom Sheed.
What are you laughing at?
No, he's done it. He's had 1 win and a couple of 50-50s.
How did he go on LDU?
Yeah, not too well.
Mate, don't pull faces, mate. That's unfair. I'm not laughing about Sheed, right?
We're on Facebook. People can see.
Oh, it's the camera. Well, they can see that you were smiling then. I'm not laughing, but poor old Dommy. And when he dropped that ball...
Is that his role? Is that his go?
Mate, it's not.
No.
Clearly it's not. He hasn't got the tools.
Do you like taggers in the game?
No, I hate taggers.
I love them. Don't you think it's fascinating entering a game? Who's going to get so and so, and then you see
I guess all that tactical stuff,
and you're always hoping that the gun ball player who's going to be tagged breaks the tag. That's what you're hoping
you're right.
for.
It does create drama. But back on Dommy, he dropped that sitter on the boundary and then kicked it out of bounds from the full somehow at the same time. He had a Barry Crocker, the poor man. And
they're a different.
He's a hero. No, he is a premiership hero. They've got a decision to make there. Did Clay Hall get suspended? I don't think.
No, he got off.
And also, how did the other kid?
Drew got off.
How did Drew get dropped? He was the sub the week before after having 30 against us in Northam, and then he gets bloody dropped.
You'd have to ask their selectors, mate.
I think they've got a problem with Gaff and Sheed, honestly. I mean, I think Dommy's probably hasn't had a good pre-season, so give him another year. Gaffy, I love Gaffy, but it's almost like when's his send-off game, is it? Or what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think you should be putting the kids in ahead of him. I've said that all along. I think he's been a terrific player and he deserves a send-off game.
And bringing the guy in from Collingwood, the Collingwood Resi, Hutchison, that did not work.
Well, it's his first game, so...
No, but what I'm saying is it didn't work.
Yeah.
So why did you do it? That needs to be asked to Simo. And secondly, why didn't Ryan Marrick start and why wasn't Hutchinson the sub? Mm-hmm. Marrick comes on, looked all right, didn't he? Yeah. And they're the similar sort of players. And I think the collision that Liam Duggan got knocked out, I think that was involving Hutchinson, wasn't it, as well? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of... You can't
blame him for that.
No, but I'm saying he doesn't understand the leading patterns. He doesn't understand the team strategy.
But how are you going to understand them?
And that's what I mean. Why would you throw him in?
By playing football. You're getting exposed. I don't mind it so much, mate. As long as they're playing kids, I'm happy with it, even if it costs you, because I think you need the exposure. They will be better. So Tim Kelly returns for the game against Essendon at Marvel after this week's bye. Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
And then Harley Reid's another weekend. But they're very different without Kelly and Reid in that team. They lose speed.
They need another
and clearance, don't they? They lose that ability to break through that centre square. So
who's their defender?
I thought Liam Ryan looked okay when he went in there. And Petracca, you can run him.
But that's what they had to do. They had to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
They had to put Liam in the middle. What about when the ruckman chased him? How good was that?
Cherry, what a great chase. What a great chase. That was one of my highlights of the weekend.
Normally in those cases, you know what you do is you put your head down, you look like you're chasing.
Yeah. Is that what you used to do?
Yeah, that's what everyone does. But he didn't. He actually had a crack. And he really put a lot of pressure on him. But they've got to develop those midfielders now. They can't keep going with those other blokes. They need to, and they also need to go all in on Liam Baker.
Yep.
They've got, and you know what? That brings us to the
my gut feel tells me he's gettable. Although everyone over in Melbourne will tell you he's not.
No, apparently he's gettable, but he wants the Tigers to be satisfied. Well, so he wants them to get something, right?
If that's the case,
because a dual premiership player.
If that's the case, who's got 3 first-round draft picks?
Yes, mate. But this is where I'm going with this. This means Elliot Yeo,
who's been linked to just about every club in Melbourne.
And now North Melbourne's throwing big money at him as well. We know that Adelaide's throwing money at him as well. I think the Eagles are playing a clever game here. And I think they're going, let's just sit off Elliot. Let's not give him what he really wants and see if we can get a monster deal, across
from North.
The line. Somebody pays him big money.
You get a first rounder.
And suddenly they might get a first rounder. They'll certainly get a pick in the 20s. And then maybe they can use that to satisfy the Tigers or whatever, because they've got nothing at the moment.
No.
And so I reckon they're sort of keeping an open mind about Elliot Yeo. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel...
It's probably the way to go, isn't it?
Is
it or not?
Yeah,
I love Yeo. I think he's and he's got a bub coming, and they know that he probably doesn't want to leave. So they're playing a very cool game of poker.
I'm fine with that. I think it's a great strategy if that's their strategy. And I think
if it lands at
Elliot
Liam
Yeo's
Baker...
got he's been a great servant of that club, and they're not going to win a flag in his career, are they? So the remainder of his career. So if you can go over and help a side like North Melbourne, I think he'd be great, really, really good at Adelaide or North Melbourne, to be honest. I think what he would be able to offer them, that inside ball...
Why North Melbourne, though? That's weird.
I'd be
because he won't play finals, you wouldn't think, right?
So
he's going there for the money. And what's Clarkson thinking? He's got midfielders. He's got LDU and
not like
Wardlaw
Elliot
and
though. Elliot is a real. He's got that burst of speed. He's an inside. He can smash you at clearances, and he can run 2 ways as well. So I think he'd be really valuable to them. I reckon he'd be better served at Adelaide because they're probably closer to it. Although I've got major worries about them at the moment. But I think either club he'd be a good fit at.
Clubs do some funny things. All right, now we're recording this, aren't we?
Yes, we
are.
We're
recording this. All right, now this is important because this could go around Australia.
Okay.
Now, Glenn Quarterman, how long have you been in the media?
1985.
So coming up, 30 years or 40 years? 40, coming up for 40 years, right? So you're a senior journalist in the footy world, okay?
I don't know where this is going.
I've been around for 30 years and played the game and all that sort of stuff as well. So 2 blokes who have some idea about what goes on in footy. Let me ask you this. Dustin Martin is about to play his 300th game this week. One of the all-time greats. I won't get diverted into what Lee Matthews said. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first up, straight up here, do you think that Dustin Martin should be having a media conference this week?
100%. You signed the collective bargaining. You agreed to the collective bargaining agreement. Why is Dusty Martin's paid so much, Barra? He's paid so much because of broadcast rights and the collective bargaining agreement. You signed up to it. You should be doing a media conference this week.
Beautiful.
No, I can't.
I totally agree. I know Buddy didn't do one for his big game.
Should have.
And Gary Ablett Jr. hated speaking.
Oh, well.
Gary Ablett
Get
Sr.
paid the money, speak.
But Dusty, what are you doing?
How can it hurt?
And can we? And is it unfair of us to say the fans want to hear from you, or
No,
is that?
Of course they do.
Am I being emotionally
Mate,
manipulative
it's
by
not just
saying
Richmond
that?
fans.
Am I being selfish by saying I'll use the fans so we can get him on TV, or is it?
I don't really care.
Do you think the fans want to hear him?
Should speak? Yes, I do, and not just Richmond fans.
You haven't heard him speak at all. It's
Might
quite
be the
remarkable.
greatest big game
What's his
player we've
voice
seen
like?
in our lifetime.
I know, mate. How can that be let to go through to the keeper in your 300th game?
Should have played last week anyway.
And let me ask you this: Lee Matthews, did you see Lethal? I think he's missed the mark here, Lethal. Sometimes he's on the mark.
You stay off. You get off his back.
I know you love the guy. The top 3 players of this generation, it's this century. So, Buddy, Gary Ablett Jr. What about her? He's about number 1. And who's the third bloke?
Clearly, it's Dustin Martin.
Not according to Lethal.
Who's he got third?
He's got Dangerfield ahead of Dusty.
I've got Dusty ahead of Danger. Dangerfield's a great player.
He's
3 Norm Smiths.
Is he trying to get hits on his social media? Lethal,
I wouldn't have thought so. Lee's just very opinionated and entitled to them. He's done
But
a
how
bit.
did he come up with Danger ahead of
He
Dusty?
just prefers him as a player.
Did he get the D's wrong or what?
No, I don't think so. He just
must
prefers
have.
him as a player. But isn't
Well, hang
it
on,
an
you know what his thing was? Oh, he's won 3 Norm Smiths, but that's only 3 games. Yes, only 3 friggin' grand finals, the hardest game in the world.
I don't agree with that, but it's an opinion industry. We're all paid to have opinions, and I think that's fair enough.
Okay, I know you love him. I know you're in love with him. Tell me, is that the right call?
No, but that's my opinion. He's got entitled to his.
I'm sending that to Lethal. Lethal, your biggest fan has said you're wrong.
Still my favourite number, number 3.
How did he leave Dusty out of the best 3? Fair dinkum. He won a Brownlow, you know.
A beautiful segue, that, because now we get to talk about my boys.
Oh, did you tip
the
him?
Hawks? No.
Ah.
And you know what?
You're barred from
I'm going to call it now, mate. I'm really worried about this week against Richmond because it's Dusty's 300th. Obviously, Hawthorn's playing them at the G. And it's also, there's talk that Tom Lynch is returning.
Oh.
And you know what else I'm worried about? Most of all, this is most important, I'm worried about tipping Hawthorn because I can't get it right this year. So
you're going to put the mock
I jumped
on
him. I don't want to put the moz on them.
Oh,
Do I pick Richmond as a reverse mock? We'll have to wait till Thursday. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
I
think we'll win, by the way.
How did you not tip him this week after getting towed the week
Oh,
before?
I really rate GWS. I picked him against Adelaide the week before.
You are the worst Hawthorn fan.
Yeah.
Mate, what about Will Day?
Good player.
How good's he going? Seriously.
What about Josh Weddle?
Yeah, but that day, I reckon, I know we talked about Moore as well, but I reckon Day might have been the one that's really turned the club around.
Oh, he has.
He's special.
He has. Well, the most important thing with Will Day is, as good as John Newcombe is, as good as James Worpel is, they're not number 1 midfielders.
No.
Will Day is a number 1 midfielder, and I think when he comes into that side, it has a chain effect down.
Come with me, boys.
And they're all playing really well at the moment. I think you look at the confidence of a lot of those Hawthorn players, you can just see them starting to grow. But Josh Weddle, so Connor Nash and Josh Weddle had to go into the ruck when Reeves went down and shoulder that low while also playing great hands. I mean, Weddle goes forward, kicks a goal, should have had another. Yeah, there's a lot to like about where Hawthorn's going.
Do they make the 8?
They can.
They're a win out. Winning percentage outside.
I'm saying no, but they certainly...
Is that a reverse psychology?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm throwing out much reverse as I can.
Let's have a look at this. Melbourne, are they going to get there?
Yeah, I reckon they will. I reckon Melbourne will find a way. Yep, I do. I don't think Gold Coast will because they can't win away from home.
Collingwood,
I don't think Gold Coast can make the 8. So, Collingwood, you'd have to think they're going to get players back, aren't they? Surely,
Mate, I reckon it's going to be. Here we go. As we're recording this, I reckon it's going to be a Sydney Collingwood grand final.
Okay,
unless the Dockers can do something amazing. I can't see the Giants lifting.
I reckon
again.
Geelong and Gold Coast are the 2 most vulnerable teams in that 8. Now,
so at the moment,
I think Collingwood and Melbourne can come in. I've got
Collingwood's in. Collingwood's 6th, right?
Yeah,
so it goes Sydney.
Sorry, they are. Yeah.
Carlton is 2nd.
Yep.
So Carlton, I mean, you think they can play grand final?
Well,
play grand final?
You know what? Ask this question: who's the second best team behind Sydney? Because Sydney clearly at the moment.
I think Collingwood is.
Okay.
When they get their players back, I feel like Collingwood would be. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Mate,
it's hard to argue against that.
Pendlebury and all that. Did Goey, remember him? He's not even playing.
So Carlton, right? So let's just talk about Essendon and Carlton for a moment, because that was a really interesting matchup. So you had Ridley v Curnow. How good was Mackay v Mackay? How's the mum and dad up in the stands? The mum with the twin scarf.
Very
or whatever.
similar, aren't they too?
They are too. Great game from Tom de Koning. Mm-hmm. He's growing before our eyes.
His brother's gone one way, the other way, and he's gone that way.
Elijah Hollands.
Mm-hmm.
The only query on them has been their defence and their defensive structures, and I still think that's a query, which is why I can't buy into them winning the flag.
Wiedering, McGovern, I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, no, they're good. I'm talking about all over the ground sort of defensive.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
But they're second on the ladder, mate, and haven't done a lot wrong. So it wasn't only 3 weeks ago they were at risk of dipping out of the 8. So it shows you how close it is at that pointy end. But I reckon this scramble to see who the second best team is. And by the way, Sydney, challenged by Geelong, early in that game, I was walking past the telly and I thought, it is at GMHBA. And then I realised, hang on, it's not. This is a good effort by Geelong. But Sydney found a way after half-time. Goulden, Warner, Heaney.
Mate, Chad Warner just went, boys, this ain't happening. Errol, get over here. Oh, Errol, fly over
Comes
here
in,
on your chandelier.
Swinging off his chandelier.
With your sabre or whatever what are those cutlass or something?
Yeah.
Come and say, and who was the third one? Who was the third banana? Three of them kicked 3 goals.
Heaney.
And Heaney, yeah, they all kicked 3 goals.
You've got to say though, with what Essendon produced, that and they were a bit inaccurate, that hurt them. That they're going to play finals. Would you agree?
Sorry, what was the question?
Essendon.
Yeah.
Have you got them playing finals now?
Well, they're on 34, so...
You know who is set up beautifully, though, for a bit of a charge here, don't you?
Collingwood.
No.
Fremantle.
Yes.
Yeah. If they can do the
draw's
job...
not too bad.
They can beat the Bulldogs. They beat the Bulldogs, we're all over them.
They can be top. They can finish top 4.
Outside the 8, basically just... There's Gold Coast, Melbourne, Bulldogs, Hawthorn. And Brisbane. Brisbane is starting to warm up.
But, okay, just on Brisbane, can I ask a question? A great performance by Eric Hipwood with his 6 goals. Where's it been? No, but I'm not just saying the 6. Where's the 4-quarter effort been from Hipwood? Keep producing that every week. You know what? They've got a really good draw, Brisbane. I know they're missing players with ACLs, but I reckon they can play finals too. If, obviously teams have to drop out, but Collingwood, Brisbane, if Collingwood finishes top 4 and Brisbane plays finals, that's a great effort by both those teams given what they've faced this year, injury-wise.
It's a fascinating finish to the season, isn't it? So really, out of it at the moment are North, Richmond, West Coast, Adelaide, probably out of it, and St Kilda. St Kilda going to...
Nah, I don't think so.
You think there's still a chance for the 8?
Nah, I think they're out.
All right, so that's 5.
Hawthorn, you give it. Let's call it a sneaky chance, but I don't think Hawthorn
are ahead of Brisbane.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll play finals.
You're the reverse, mate. Fair income, reverse psychology.
Hey, one last thing before we get into some mail, mate. I want to. This really annoys me. This fact. So here's a not so fun fact. So Brisbane plays the Western Bulldogs at the weekend. Brisbane's had 2 buys. The Western Bulldog are yet to have a buy.
What's going on there?
So what's going on there is we had a thing called opening round, which has thrown the fixture into chaos. So let's do what I think the AFL are going to do. I reckon this is what's going to happen, Barra. Opening round remains, but every team will play. So you may as well call it round 1. But if you want to call it opening round, do so. So you still have your block of games in the northern states to open it on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, right.
And then you have your other games thereafter.
So you don't add a game, add a round. You're just saying, no, yeah.
And so you just have don't have this situation where you have all these early buys. I think it could work, and you could have some blockbusters as well in that second half of that weekend. So let's just get rid of this. It's a great idea. It didn't work. Let's just, stick with your northern states games, but let's make it a full fixture.
Mate, I'll just go back to Sydney, Geelong. Yes. Papley 4 goals, Amadi 3, and then what I meant to say was Warner, Heaney and Goulden. They kicked 5 between them and just turned the game.
It's interesting with that game, mate. McDonald, Amadi, McLean and Papley. So they're their 4 really big forward targets. Mm-hmm. And I think Sydney has targeted them something like 18% each this season. So I guess the beauty with Sydney is they've got a good spread. You don't know where it's going.
That's what happens when Buddy retires, mate.
Yep.
Oh, bloody hell, let's share it around now. Buddy's gone finally. Thank God. No, not saying thank God. Hey, the other thing is Logan and McDonald. I saw Rhino saying that he thinks he'll stay at Sydney. But then I got a text from a connected party that said maybe that's not happening. So that's one to watch, Logan McDonald.
So is Chad Warner, I think, at the end of next year. He's one to watch as well. Just on that, we talked about Sydney's spread. The one thing about Essendon, I know we're jumping around a bit here, but the other thing that was notable at the weekend was their forwards. So you're talking Stringer, Langford, Jones and Wright, 2 goals combined. And I thought Essendon played pretty well. So there you go. You can't win a game if you get that output from your forward line. So got a bit to work on Essendon, but the way they're trending, I think it's very much to like. And I think Essendon supporters would be saying, maybe the drought ends this year. Maybe we win a final.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Hey, Barra, before you get to the letters, let me just say about the 1994 Eagles Premiership Heroes.
Yes, it was a good day.
Now, you were there Friday.
It was fantastic
at the event.
Function.
Good to see that Peter Sumich was there too.
He was.
Yeah, it was a bit of a concern early on.
Because he's getting there late. He got there late.
Yeah, and he wasn't seen, and that added to the sort of, him v Simo stuff, which is real. And but then I don't think he did a lap of honour, did he? He didn't go to the rooms, Summer. He didn't go down. He mustn't have gone down to the rooms, which, would be awkward, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Malthouse, Worsfold, Kemp, Materia, Jakovic,
it's great talking
David Hart.
At the lunch on Friday, so they brought out Mick Malthouse and John Worsfold came out to the foyer area to talk to the media.
Did they seem reluctant or?
No, they were fine, mate.
Fine.
It was like it seriously felt like the old days. Like back in the 90s at a media.
coaches.
The only thing is Mick wasn't having a crack at me, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, same.
But Woosha, who I've always had a good relationship with, he was great to speak to. And, they were good days. They were really good days. They were fun days. And they had a wonderful balanced squad, the Eagles.
Oh, mate, the 1994 Premiership team is the Eagles' best team.
Yep.
I had a look at the ages and that. They were actually younger than the current Eagles team that was out last weekend. When Kelly and all that were playing.
And how good were some of the interviews? And we had on the other show I do, we had David Hart on Saturday morning, so the day after the lunch going into the game, and he reckons it was 11 a.m. He was on his third at Crown.
Third beer.
Yeah. And we said, hey, just go easy. You've got you've got to go out and do a guard of honour before the game. He goes, I'll just lean on someone, I'll be fine.
Yeah, Moldhouse. He was hanging with Moldhouse.
But he was talking about your stories about the grapper. Well, because we spoke about John Todd, the grapper and the invisible football and all of that stuff. And he, of course, was a great story from 94 because he missed 92 with injury. And then almost quit football. Had a bit of a run of poor form, refound his desire to play, and eventually saluted.
Where was Shane Bond?
Shane Bond wasn't there. He was the only. So Maney, God rest his soul, was missing because he's in heaven. Shane Bond, I'm not sure.
Maddie did the lap of honour. Maddie Mainwaring.
Nice.
That was really nice. But Shane Bond didn't. He's out of the.
Is everything all good there with the relationship between him and that?
I don't know. We came up with the best nicknames in the old days, didn't we? Joof, Joof Hart.
Yeah.
David Hart. Joof Hart. Jobby for Brett Hetty.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And but I said to one of the
explanation required.
I said to one of the boys when the Eagles were getting fixed up, I said, "Hey boys, how would you go? The 1994 Eagles Premiership heroes, basically, and basically the best ever Eagles team, in my opinion, the best ever.
Hey,
Eagles
they
team.
look in good nick too.
Oh, in good nick.
So good to see Roo looking in good nick after his heart attack a few years ago.
Apart from
Louis
the heart
looks
attack,
good.
he's in good nick.
Yeah, but you can get over those quickly these days, mate. Well, you can.
if you give up,
unclog your arteries and away you go again.
Yeah, what do you have to
I
give
reckon
up?
he could still kick 5 from a wing on grand final day.
Give
there
up
you
the
go.
gaspers. Well, that's what I sort of said to him. I said, boys, how do you reckon you'd go today? And can't remember who said it. Said, I reckon we could probably maybe kick 10 goals nowadays. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, we are 55.
And we asked Mick if he had any advice for Adam Simpson, and he said, I'm not giving him any advice. He said, the only thing I'd say, the only advice is just take it contest by contest. I'm not talking week for week or day for day, contest by contest. It's good advice.
Didn't he say something about not looking in the rear vision mirror as well?
Rolled out one of his great quotes.
Yeah, and I'm sure Simo appreciated that advice.
What was your favourite Mick quote from back in the day?
Oh, the one about the
earth is slow, but the ox is patient.
No, sometimes you're a windscreen, sometimes you're a bug.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I like the
hang on, the earth.
Earth is slow, but the ox is patient.
No, the ox is slow, but the earth is patient. Yeah. Which nobody had a clue what it meant.
Oh, it's
you
still
had to go and Google it. Still haven't got a clue.
No.
He
who dies a death of 1,000 cuts dares to unseat the emperor.
Yeah, who dares to unseat the emperor
dies the death of 1,000 cuts.
And that was Djakovic against Carey.
Okay.
So that was lost.
Djakovic won that, didn't he?
It was lost on all of us.
It's marginal, but he was ahead in that head-to-head.
He had that book, The Art of
Sun
War.
Tzu.
Yeah, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And he said, you got to read this book, boys.
Oh, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, sure.
How many read it?
Is it in
how many said they read it?
Comic form? Does it come with crayons?
Is there one of those, Sun Tzu guide to dummies? You can just read a précis of it.
when you're reading Wuthering Heights or something. Yeah. Wuthering Heights for Dummies.
I read that. That's my favourite book. No, it is.
It did not.
Mate, I had to read it for HSC, Year 12 English Literature.
What were the main characters' names?
Heathcliff and Cathy, of course.
Yeah, and what was the famous expression out on the moors or the cliffs or whatever it was when Heathcliff was saying to Cathy, there's a famous line in it.
You're talking about the song by Kate Bush. Yes, you are. It was a
you're the best.
It was a great old English novel, mate. I loved it.
I reckon you're bull 22.
Now it's time for this.
Saddle up your camel. It's time for the Thirsty Camel Mailbag.
I can't wait till the first mail smashes you. This is going to be interesting.
Hang on.
This week, thank you to our long-term sponsors, Thirsty Camel. This week's special, Tui's Extra Dry 24-pack of stubbies, only $49.99. Of course, as always, we have a $50 gift voucher to give away thanks to Thirsty Camel. Get your questions in for Thursday or next week even to quartersandbarra at wanews.com.au. Barra.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Put my helmet on.
Put your helmet on.
Okay,
Put your helmet on.
Got me.
Vinny writes.
Vinny?
Hi, guys. Best AFL podcast around. Love your work. I would love to discuss your show with my mate, but he holds onto a grudge like you would hold onto a fart on a first date. In his words, I was at the ARC one day for training. I've seen all the camera crew about to come out the door with their gear after me, so I held the door open for them. Barra and Lockie Reed all walked through. Reed and the crew said thanks, and Barra ignored me. He is convinced you shunned him because he was in his Freo gear. Oh, the humanity. Barra, can you give a shout out? His name's Paulie. Can you give a shout out to Paulie? And then maybe, just maybe, he will start listening again. Come on, Barra. Say you're
shout
sorry.
out to Paulie.
Not very nice.
Jeep.
Someone opens the door for you.
No, it doesn't sound like me. I normally hold the door. I mean, honestly.
Well,
Paulie, I'm sorry, my friend. If that happened, I'm very sorry. Nothing to do with the Dockers. I've got good friends at the Dockers as well. Ryan Daniels seems to be right on board with them. Fifey's a great man. I love Alex Pearce. Switter. I saw Caleb Sarong. Have you seen Caleb Sarong post the vision of him proposing to his missus?
No.
Mate, you got to have a look at that. So they're both
Who was he?
They're both Victorian, right? Mm. So he is, and so is the girl. Her name slips my mind at the moment. Is it Joey? Chloe. Yeah, Chloe. Beautiful.
Congratulations, Chloe.
I met her at the boxing.
Caleb, by the way.
And so they've flown over the parents, and he's got rosebuds on the floor and candles. So he must have spent hours setting up the house while she went to breakfast.
Remember those days, Barra?
On the bed.
3 kids.
What do we do now?
Yeah.
Buy a dishwasher or something.
Yeah.
The birthday.
I just bought one.
You shouldn't ever buy things like that for special birthdays. You know what I mean? Like, because it sends the wrong
do
message.
it all the time.
Yeah, I know. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
You know, like a vacuum
Anyway,
cleaner.
get on
like
with
that
the story.
vacuum cleaner you did once. Anyway, so she's gone out to breakfast, and Chloe, and she's come back in, opens the door and sees all this stuff, and then in the background is both sets of parents, his parents and her parents, who'd been flown over from Victoria.
So straight away she thought, hang on, what's going on
And then
here?
he gets down on his knee in front of
the
everyone
parents.
with the ring and goes, "Will you marry me?" Mate, it was
And then
a
she
big effort.
said, no, not interested, and walked out. No, of course not. No, I'm jesting.
But what a big effort, eh? I mean, to go to that
Put a
extent.
bit of, he has put a lot of thought
And
into
to
that.
film it and to post
Quite
it.
the romantic.
I thought it was big posting it as well. Anyway, Paulie, sorry, mate. And Vinny, well done, buddy.
Quarters. Put a fork into Melbourne. They are officially cooked. Yeah, well, it's a good call. Their forward line is a complete mess, and their midfield only functions well when Petracca, Oliver are humming, which currently they are not. Geez, Jack Crisp got hold of Oliver at the weekend too. Also, if LDU is on the move, as he hasn't signed his new contract yet, which team do you think would be his best suitor? What do you think his currency would be on the trade table? That's from our friend Raul.
Raul.
He's back.
Well done, Raul.
Yeah, well, they are a mess at the moment, but I still
they're
think
gonna
they can
struggle
play
now.
finals.
They've got to buy. They've lost
I'm
Petracca.
not sure if LDU's on the move, but if he is, I'd say there's a few clubs that would like to have him. Wouldn't be.
You know what? There is a world where they miss the 8, Melbourne. I know
Of
you've
course
tipped
there
him. I
is.
know you've tipped him for the flag. I'm not just saying
I
that
know
because
there's a
you've tipped
world
him
where
for
they
the-
miss the 8, but I'm saying I'm not ready to concede that. I'm conceding they're
Yeah,
not winning the
no.
flag on current form.
Fair call.
Okay.
Off you go.
Okay.
What else you got?
Oh, okay.
sorry.
High Quarters and Barra. The very next match after Alistair Clarkson's vile outburst, his team benefited from a dubious free kick, and the one that was not adjudicated the same way before or after it was given. The Kangaroos also won the free kick count. Why does the AFL community continue to bow down to such an unsuitable person like Clarkson to coach or even attend a football match at any level? It is time for the AFL to sever all ties with Clarko. That's from Andrew. Jesus, that's harsh. You're obviously not a Clarko fan. Look, I think, as we said before, the free kick was it was true to the letter of the law, but you'd like to see ball hunters rewarded.
What about
as
this?
far as
What
the
about
other
this?
stuff, no, I agree. I think he should have been rubbed out for a couple of weeks and got away with it. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that one, but I think he's still got a role to play in the game. I wouldn't disagree.
He's
with you.
barred from the boundary. He has to coach from the box
He's
now.
barred himself from the boundary.
What about this? North Melbourne has won 6 games in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
3 of them have been against the West Coast Eagles. So even at their lowest, the Kangas have got the Eagles as their bunnies. How's that? So they've won 6 games and 3 of them have been against West Coast. And Simo's going over there this weekend, isn't he, for the reunion? Which flag would it be?
97 or 99?
No, because it's
96 or 99.
So it's 2024. So it must end in 4. So it must be
They won in 96 and 99.
96 and
99, so there's 25 years.
25 years. There we go. One of those. So he's going to cop it.
He's rocket scientist here trying
He's
to
going
work it out.
He's going to cop it, isn't he?
High Quarters and Barra. A correspondent recently highlighted that Fremantle is in the middle of a month with no home games. By contrast, the Eagles have had 2 home games in a row. This all happened to Freo in the first quarter of the season with no home games for a month. Why are the AFL treating Fremantle fans like mugs? That's from Michelle. Well, yeah, look, it has been a curious fixture, Barra, and Freo have seemed to have copped it in the neck a bit this year.
Maybe
There
that's
have
why.
been stints where they haven't played home games.
But is this why it's so even this year, and why some of the big guns are out of the 8, and there's been such movement? Maybe, and why it's so tight? Maybe it's working in the favour of the AFL. They wouldn't be hating it.
They be loving this fixture at the moment. The fact that it's so close, absolutely
And
loving it.
They love controversy. They love, they love the umpiring discussions and stuff like that because it creates talk around the game. That's what people don't understand. I don't think they're not worried about an umpire messing up. I noticed the St Kilda decision was ruled incorrect.
Yeah.
The Max King one.
So there were 2. Let's just talk about those 2. The other one was James Sicily, and both were really significant. So the Mac Andrew one on
Max King.
On Max King, they've conceded wasn't on, right? So
Yep.
that's pretty costly because it cost them the game. And the Sicily bump, the bump from
They ticked off on it.
it was Tom Green on James Sicily, which
Yep.
led to the Luke Bruce out. I'm not convinced that's a free kick. I think what else are you meant to do if you're Tom Green? Surely, and there are other instances of that at the weekend. When a player is taking a kick, you can still legally bump them to try and put them off balance, which is what Tom Green did. So as much as I love the fact that Luke Bruce goes back, kicks the goal, Hawthorn win, I'm not convinced that was a free kick. I think we're pretty lucky there.
There's been some greats. Maybe a smothering's the way to go now, because in the old days you would just try to take them out, but
it's not taking them out.
But he
it's
didn't
a
even
nudge
do that.
To put them off balance. And
yeah.
Well done to Sicily to milk it for all it was worth too. That's part of the game. But
it was so soft. It was soft. I hate those soft free kicks.
Yep.
Anyway, especially late in the game.
High Quarters and Barra, I still can't wrap my head around the Hutchinson selection. This is Jack Hutchinson.
No, he agrees with me.
This is not a knock on the kid at all. Yes, he kicked 5 against the bottom place Waffle side. Oh, that's going to hurt.
We were second.
It's Barra's team. All due respect, Barra. But I'm not sure this warrants AFL selection. I'd have thought you'd give him time to build confidence, get to know his teammates and get a run of form, surely. How would the playing group who have been there working hard all preseason handle that selection? Really thought it was quite bizarre, to be honest, and look what happened. Cheers, Chris. That's a pretty fair point. This is what you argued earlier on. Mm-hmm. I think I had a counter to that, so we have covered it. But
and Ryan Marrick, the leaving Ryan Marrick out of the 22 was bizarre. 23. Mm-hmm.
Good morning, good afternoon, Q and B. Love the podcast. I know everyone thinks they can solve the fixture inequality for WA, but I may have something that could really work. Schedule a derby before the Sir Doug Nicholls rounds. Then both WA clubs stay home both rounds and play a mini festival celebrating the West's enormous Indigenous contribution to footy with Eastern clubs, with WA Indigenous stars from the past. There's too many to mention. Look how good Dreamtime on the Swan was. Then roll this into the bye and hey presto, the Eagles and Dockers get a 4 to 5 week travel break right in the middle of the season. I'm sure this may cost me any shot at the Camel, but for God's sake, Barra has to stop the shameless name-dropping of Ben Cousins at least twice every podcast, every week.
Hey, I haven't mentioned him today.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
and I won't be, mate. I've fallen into that trap, mate.
Oh, we love Ben. High Quarters and Barra, why don't WA clubs lobby the A, and he puts on in brackets VFL, to schedule a WA double fixture for the WA Day long weekend, like they adjust their Victorian-centric fixture for Vic long weekends, and only schedule standalone showcase games in Melbourne, e.g. King's Birthday, Anzac Day, Dreamtime, etc. Could you have a game of footy on the Saturday, Sunday and an annual standalone showcase Monday fixture that promotes WA, footy, produce, attractions, etc., and or for a worthy WA cause, e.g. telethon? Love the pod. Keep up the good work. P.S. Eagles' wayward goal kicking was what cost them the game on Saturday, not an umpiring decision. That's from Shane, from Bateman. Now, Shane, that I think you might get your wish granted, because I reckon, I had this story a few weeks ago talking to Chris Sutherland, the new Fremantle chair. I reckon they're going to get a game, a fixture called the Winter Fixture, and it's going to be over 2 weekends. It'll be the WA Day long weekend going into the King's Birthday fixture. And what you'll have is you'll rotate a couple of Victorian teams that will come through, and that will change every year. And you'll have your WA Day long weekend fixtures happening. So I think it's going to happen. And just wait on that for the end of this year when they release the AFL fixture. I think it'll be good news.
Mate, 2 great emails there.
Yeah.
And and good follow-up by you, my friend. But also, he's spot on. It wasn't Yoey's free kick that lost the game. It was what lost the game.
2 goals to three-quarter time.
Mate, I was filthy on it. 17 behinds. 8 goals, 17. 17 behinds. Jack Darling, 1 goal, 3. Jamie Cripps, 1 goal, 3. A couple of blokes just having a Sheed ran into a goal.
Jake Waterman still managed to kick 3 in the last quarter.
He came good.
In a low-scoring game.
I just can't believe, honestly. So that's where, they had 20, they have 8 and 17, so they had, 25 shots at goal, and they had 19, North Melbourne.
Hey, dare I say it, and I know you want to win games of footy, Barra, particularly, like the last 2 weeks you would have penciled in the way the Eagles were going at home. They beat St Kilda and North. But dare I say it, does it really matter? I mean, you're going to finish a bit lower, so you still
it was 43,000 people there.
One last one. Hey, boys, with NRL State of Origin this week, it was last week, but anyway, it's not going to be till, I think, June 26th is game 2 at the MCG. But it always brings out the pondering about AFL State of Origin. Who do you think would win? Would be awesome to see a WA Vic game. I reckon the Black Ducks would give it a fair shake. Imagine the team with a back line of Taylor, Barrass, McGovern and Clark. Warner, Cripps and English in the middle. Up front, Waterman, Amos and Jackson. Bring it on. AFL copied Gather Round, so let's take back Origin. Cheers, Joel. Thanks, Joel. Look, State of Origin, I'm not sure if it can work again in the AFL. I think it's bizarre, really. I think the reason... AFL introduced the concept here in Western Australia. The NRL copied it. But the reason it works in the NRL is there's this... It's two states, and there is this enmity, this hatred between Queensland and New South Wales. The reason that happened, Barra, was back in the day, New South Wales, the cashed-up New South Wales clubs used to recruit the Queensland players, and they would play in the New South Wales the New South Wales team before there were Origin rules. So basically, the New South Wales would beat up Queensland with half a side of Queenslanders. So they hated that. So that's why Origin was born. And that's why it's been so successful, because there's just this enduring hatred between those two states, and it's born from historical facts. I think the WA, the AFL State of Origin, I think it's been replaced in the AFL. So you still have that WA Vic rivalry and that WA SA or that Vic SA rivalry. Yeah. So I'm just, if you're going to do
I don't know. I reckon you were spot on up until you said that last bit, because the Broncos versus the big Sydney clubs, that's a similar thing, isn't it, to what you're saying about? Yeah,
but I don't think it's as deep as the hatred is between Queensland and New South Wales.
You're spot on there. Hey, well, let's look at my All-Australian team that I picked last week. I mean, how good would it to be see a team that had Jesse Hogan in it, Chad Warner, Waterman would probably get in there, Sam Taylor. Who else from West Coast would you chuck in? You'd probably put Tim Kelly in, I reckon. That'd probably be about... Barrass maybe.
Barrass, yeah.
McGovern. You've got Sam Taylor. Who else around the league? From the Dockers, there's not a lot of Dockers guys that are West Australian, strong West Australians, are there? Mostly
Jordan Clark.
Jordan Clark would get in. Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Clark. Sorry, I should have said that. Jordan Clark. There's another one. Anyone else from Fremantle that you might... Because most of their best players are from Victoria, aren't they?
From elsewhere, yeah.
Other players around the league.
Well, Amos.
Nick Martin.
Joey Amos.
Would he get a game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick Martin, I reckon.
He's a lock.
He'd be a lock as well.
Liam Baker.
Liam Baker would probably get a run.
Shy Bolton.
Shy Bolton. So it'd be a good team. I would like to see it up against the Vics.
All of a sudden, I'm starting to get a bit worried with my big V jumper on. I'd be a bit worried about that.
How good's the big V jumper?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Mate, why don't they bring it back? They're doing it in state footy, I see, like Waffle versus VFL.
Played in one once.
Did you?
Yeah, not
make
because
you look bigger.
Not just because I was selected for Victoria. It was like a little league game, and that's the only jumpers they had with a big V one. So we wore one.
Mate, I always used to think when they ran out with the big V on, they looked bigger.
Yeah, it does make you look bigger.
When Brereton was wearing it, and Ablett and Lockett. Remember that day?
Gee, that's saying something if they look bigger.
Remember when they had that game where they all played? All
South
the guns?
Australia, in the mud at the MCG. Lockett, Dunstall, Ablett in the forward line.
It's mouth-watering.
Oh,
hey, before you finish, who said, whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same?
I don't know.
Come on, Mr. Wuthering Heights.
Oh, is that from Wuthering Heights?
Oh, busted, mate.
Oh, God, gee, sorry, mate.
You said
sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry, the most famous quote
Read
from the
it
book.
in 1983.
Oh, he's bloody famous.
Sorry if not Mr. Picky, if my memory just fades me a little bit.
Don't try to put me down, mate. That's the most famous quote.
Whiz.
You said on this podcast the most outrageous thing that no one would have expected.
It's one of the great books of all time.
That you've read Wuthering Heights.
I have, about 3 times.
Mate, whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. Who said it?
Oh, it would be Heathcliff would have said that. Oh, no, Kathy might have.
Catherine said it about Heathcliff. Yeah. But who did she say it to?
Oh, I don't know, mate. She should
test you don't know jack shit about it, mate. She said it to the housekeeper, Nellie Dean, talking about her deep feelings for Heathcliff. And it's the most famous quote, whatever our souls are made of, his and mine.
Well, I'm going to have to pick it up again and go and read it. Well, you can go and read your Mad magazine, okay? You've been listening to Quarters and Barra.
When you fold the thing at the back, how good was it?
We've been Brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch. Download the Tab Touch app today. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Barra. We will be back on Thursday to pour over round 14.